At this time, I'd like to call the Village of Midlothian Board meeting for November 25th, 2015 to order. Roll call.
Trustee Gillis.
Here.
Trustee Ivan.
Here.
Trustee Killily.
Here.
Trustee Price.
Here.
Trustee LaRue.
Here.
Trustee Maskell.
Here.
Mayor Ryback.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Please stand for the pledge, and after the pledge, please stay standing for a moment of silence for our veterans and a remembrance to why we're thankful this year. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. At this time, I'll open the floor to public comment. If you'd like to address the board this evening, now is your opportunity.
Sure, I'll go first. Kathy Kavaney. I just have one question on the bills list on page 5 at the bottom. It's just a $200 reimbursement to a Kevin Shaughnessy for a Kyle, I'm not going to try and say his last name. And I think the description is Fire and Police Commission, maybe? Just
He does
curious.
testing, doesn't he do the,
Polygraph test.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, just wondering what that was for. A couple of comments. I wasn't able to attend last week's committee meeting, but I was able to watch a portion of it. And 4 things. I noticed that on the agenda tonight, there's no mention of the forensic audit. And I know that had been on like the last 4 or 5 agendas because the mayor had been told week after week after week by the forensic audit company, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. And I see it's not here. It seems as though this company has been dragging it on and dragging it on and dragging it on. So it's time that they get on with it. And it's getting a little frustrating for all of us because I'm sure all of you are as frustrated as we are. We're waiting for this report to come, and they've been working on this for months now, and I don't know what could possibly be taking so long, especially since 3 weeks in a row, Mayor, they told you that it was almost done. So, but a couple of concerns is that, most importantly, to Trustee Moskow's point, a review of bank statements without them also reviewing board meeting minutes and approved bills lists on a monthly basis is not really a forensic audit. I agree with Alan. That's nothing more than a reconciliation. And I believe that when you presented this to the board agreed and the board approved a forensic audit. And I'm anticipating that that's what the village is going to get as a forensic audit and not a reconciliation. And after the board reviews it and they do determine that it is only a reconciliation, then I think they need to be taken to task that they either complete the job and do a forensic audit, or we don't pay them for the forensic audit. We pay them for a reconciliation, which is not really what they were contracted to do. That's number 1. Number 2, Don had referenced a home that was owned by some rental company during the meeting.
Yes.
There was a home that has no heat.
Yes.
Is it occupied by a tenant?
Yes.
It is. Okay. I know that you said that Gwen's been trying to contact them and they've not been returning her phone calls. Can the village take some legal action? Can we have the attorney send them a letter?
You can find them.
Well,
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I actually haven't looked into it.
Yeah.
So-
I looked up our ordinance, we can find them every day.
mhm.
We can find them. And that's all. And that's basically, I looked up Chicago's ordinance, it's worded the exact same way. There's nothing to do. I suggested that possibly if they have properties that don't comply, then maybe that they want to buy other properties in Midlothian, that they wouldn't be able to, or maybe their
Mhm.
permits wouldn't be approved
Well,
or until they
gi-
get,
given
until they
that-
get that fixed.
Given that winter is upon us, if there are tenants in there and they're paying rent and they don't have adequate heat and the landlord's refusing to give them heat, is there some other government entity that we can report them to?
One of the rental laws, I believe, that is out there is that if the homeowner doesn't get satisfaction, he can repair it and not pay rent.
That's true. And do we know if this renter is aware of that law?
I don't know what the situation is at this time, if it's been rectified or not.
I guess I'm just curious, how did you find out there was no heat? Don, how did you find out there was no heat in the building? Did the tenant call the village and
The
complain?
tenant called the village.
Okay,
The village called the property owner. The property owner told them that they had to get it approved by the owners. the owner said it was approved and it would be put in Saturday or Sunday. The following week, nothing was done and they would return the building department's phone calls. That's where I left our.
Yeah, and there isn't, to my knowledge, there hasn't been any correspondence with the building department since.
Maybe the property, maybe it's fixed then, because you would think the property, the venture would call again,
I can double check and see. I mean, I'll even try tonight if I can find the number I'm going to. Okay, sure.
Okay, I'm just curious, I don't know if this would be helpful for the building department. I know that we had brought this up a couple months ago, or a couple meetings ago, we were talking about various things between renters and landlords and what happens if they don't pay the water bill and that type of thing. And I had brought up this particular law that you're talking about. Would it be helpful? I mean, does the building department have the specific information about that law? Can they give that information to the tenants so the tenants can move forward and contact whoever they need to contact in Cook County or
I don't know
whoever?
off the top of my head. I
Okay.
would say probably.
Okay.
We'll put it back for them so that they do know.
Okay. Next item. The last board meeting, an ordinance was amended so that the building department could waive the need for an architectural plan if a building owner, a commercial building owner, whoever wanted to come in and make some revisions to their property. You know, some property owners and landlords here in town feel that it's, you know, counterproductive to have to pay an architect to do drawings because they're very expensive, and I understand that. But my concern is that, given that we've amended this law, we're gonna have, or ordinance, we're gonna have more situations like we do right now with Heinz Optical, where you have a landlord doing all kinds of changes, you know, coming into the building department with a handwritten drawing. That's what I heard on last week's meetings, with they presented a handwritten drawing. No permit should be issued for any kind of construction based on a handwritten drawing.
They weren't. No permits were issued.
Pardon me?
No permits were issued.
There are
Okay.
issued permits issued with handwritten drawings.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
But
Okay.
not to that.
Not to that one, but I mean, if it's a good drawing and it's not just a sketch of some type, the building department's gonna go with it. That law applied it to homeowners too. It didn't just apply to commercial. So, you know, when we changed it, you know, it was a situation where if it's something very substantial, the building department's gonna require an architect's plan. If it's something where they're just putting up a couple walls, or, you know, moving a wall or something, it's no big deal. And
Right, but what if it's a load-bearing wall?
Pardon me?
What if it's a load-bearing wall?
Then during the inspection, they're gonna determine that.
And then what's the recourse to the village? You just shut their business down?
They'll give it-
I don't know, I just think that it's,
I mean, they said, and I don't think this is too far off, they said an architect's plan for that would cost $1,200.
mhm.
If, then, I think overall, if they, landlord had been a little bit more forthcoming, would have done a more professional sketch and given us all the correct information at that time, and not given the building department 3 different sketches, I think it probably would have gone better.
Well,
I mean,
then, at
that's-
that point, someone in the building department needs to stop the whole project, because when you're getting hand-drawn sketches like that,
They didn't know the project was happening. There was no permits. They didn't know anything was happening. The only way they found out is when Dr. Heinz moved into the other office. They
Okay.
didn't go into the premises, there was nothing.
so
There was no permits.
how did the village find out all this happened then, after he
Well,
moved?
Dr. Heinz moved to the next office.
Okay. So then what does the village do? Can the village go in and shut his business down and
Yes.
prohibit him from working
They
until
could-
it all
they
gets
could
fixed?
Give them, they could revoke occupancy
Mhm.
if they thought there was some imminent threat, you know, for
Mhm.
safety.
Mhm.
But
And so if the landlord is given 30 days' notice to go in and correct all the errors and he doesn't, then what happens? Do you keep threatening him? Do you go in and shut him down? Do you pull his occupancy permit?
It's no different from a resident too. They have to pay the fines and they have to pay the permit fees. So basically, everything doubles.
Oh, okay.
And it's inspected as if it was permanent, and then treated it, you know, whether it's correct or not.
Mhm.
And it's approved once the final inspection is done.
Okay. My concern here is not just to point out this particular landlord or this particular business owner, but overall, you know, for the integrity of the village and the integrity of the properties that we have in the village, we have to make sure that all of the construction is done up to code and it's done professionally and it's done in a workmanlike manner.
Kathy, that's why we
So-
hired a second inspector, and he's doing a fantastic job.
Okay.
Both of them are very animate of making sure residents and businesses are following the ordinances
Okay.
and getting the permits when needed.
Okay.
And that was a huge problem this past summer.
Mm-hmm.
People doing work without permits,
Mhm.
putting up fences, putting up sheds,
Mhm.
garages, doing work in businesses.
Mm-hmm.
So we have addressed the problem 100%.
Okay. And my last comment is with regards to the business owner who recently bought the tattoo parlor. This is where I see this dichotomy and it doesn't make sense. On one hand, we're giving out permits based on hand-drawn sketches. And then in this particular situation, you have a gentleman who bought a tattoo parlor business, he bought a tattoo business, and that business had already gone through the special use program and had already gotten zoned and approved for the special use of a tattoo parlor. And now just because the business is changing hands, the use of the building isn't changing, the use of the business isn't changing, it's only the business owner is changing hands. Now this poor guy has to go through the whole zoning permit request all over again and wait 30 to 45 days to open his business and run his business. And that seems kind of counterproductive to me. I could see if he was changing it from a bakery to a tattoo shop or from a gift shop to a tattoo shop, but it's tattoo shop and it's still a tattoo shop. The business part of it hasn't changed at all.
My understanding, Kathy, is the variance is issued to the business that asked for it,
Mm-hmm.
not the building. It doesn't belong to the building, it belongs to the business. So this being a new business, he must go through the same process. We're just following our ordinances.
Again, and I understand that's the ordinance, but you change the one building ordinance so that, you know, so that the village can be a little bit more lax on giving out permits without an architectural drawing, just based on a hand sketch drawing. But now you have this business who is gonna, and I'm assuming, I don't know if it's an owned building or if he's leasing the space.
He's renting.
Pardon?
He's renting.
He's renting, so, you know, I understand that we have to have ordinance in places, you know, I understand that. But when the business is remaining the same, there should be a way that the process for rezoning the same similar type of business can be sped up a little bit, can be accelerated, and not cause this guy to have to wait 30 to 45 days to get approval to run his business, when it's the same, essentially the same business. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
I'll be quick, so you guys get out of here.
Thank you.
This is just a couple of additional comments on our Linder Avenue scenario. I think we all know that Linder Avenue is a public street that's well been established. Anybody can go down there, neighbors, residents, family members, school buses, UPS, FedEx. There's even a couple of ComEd trucks that are parked there that go on. So surveys went out to the public in that community right there. I think you've all probably seen the responses by now for all the surveys. I'm sure Don gave it to you. Again, I agree, I'd say this, the humps are safety and a speed device, not intended for any endangerment for anybody's health, their cars, anything like that. They're not on anybody's property, they're just there, they don't even grow, okay? I mean, they're just there. And I guess I just have a hard time understanding, in conversation with a couple of people in the block, how such an item is ruining the lives of certain people. Seems like it is, you know, difficult way to put it. And I don't know of any other communities, I don't know if anybody in the room knows of any other communities that have ever removed the devices. If you do, tell me, because I don't know. In my work job, when I was working, I gone through a lot of communities. And, you know, speed is a functional based on observation, not an opinion, okay? It's the only way you can do it. I would never ask our police department to sit in any corner or any blind area and sit there and wait for someone to go speeding by. Sure, they got a lot better things to do than watch for speeders, you know, so it's based on the factual information, observation. And I don't know. If any of us, including myself or anybody members here, sat down and read about this story in another community, would you kind of ask, what are they doing? What are they thinking about? I mean, that's what I would ask. So this is just some of the things I just keep bringing up to you. Thank you for your time, and at this time of year, being very thankful, I thank all of you in this room for your efforts you put forth for trying to keep this a great community to live in. Thanks, Debbie. Thanks, Steve. We appreciate it.
Same to you and your family. Yeah.
Two things. One is actually off the cuff and picking up on unexpectedly something that Kathy brought up, which is the issue of being a tenant here in Midlothian. First of all, we have some of the most weak tenant laws, rights, abilities, remedies. When we do end up getting with landlords, like for example, the Chicago Tenant Landlord Ordinance came up. There's a weakness with that. The clause in the Chicago Tenant Landlord Ordinance that does state that a tenant can go ahead and reduce their rent by the proportion of the repairs that it takes does not go past the city limits. It's not something that applies to the state. It's something I went through when I was living in the apartment complex by 147th and Kilpatrick. I was busy trying to find recourse, having a landlord that I was having issues with, you know, building inspector I was having challenges with, and wasn't getting anywhere. So I certainly hope that to some degree that maybe this community does take under consideration that the tenant really is in probably the weakest position any person entering a contract could not want kind of thing. It should be of an equal kind of partnership kind of thing. I'll take care of your property while I'm here. You know, I won't beat it up kind of thing. And in turn, if my heat goes out, you'll get it fixed. So I'm not freezing, getting my government involved, and you know, all of these headaches. So perhaps maybe there can be consideration for an ordinance specific to Midlothian that begins to adopt some of what, yes, the Chicago Tenant Landlord Ordinance does articulate that the state does not. And those are loopholes. There's not one organization in this state that will address the issues that a tenant may have. There are many non-for-profits that do try to address the issue on a statewide level, you know, policy, but not of a case-by-case, you know, here's the matter. The other issue was more of a Joe Sperry kind of direction. In that last winter, especially on social media, the issue of snow removal, you know, came up and was one of those really tense topics from time to time. And I'm kind of hoping, if you don't mind, taking a moment to explain, first of all, what is the methodology behind, you know, when you send the plows out, you know, what does that mean for us kind of thing, because we just had a snowfall. And the other thought that I was wondering, though, is have we taken into consideration what happens when the snow melts? And all that mathematics of if it's a rain melt, will that cause us to flood faster?
Sure.
You know, kind of thing. So it was one of those, can you take a moment to just explain really quick, you know, for example, there's no parking, you know, when and why, and that kind of stuff really quick?
If snow or more expected, there's no parking on the streets, or you'll be ticketed.
Okay.
If snow accumulates on the streets, we'll get it off.
Well,
I
do you
mean,
do it by quadrants, for example, like
well,
with the
we have
branch?
trucks in each quadrant.
Okay.
Sometimes trucks break down. We have plenty of trucks if they're all running, and we have plenty of guys when they're around, depending on what time of the day, what holiday it is.
Okay.
Was there a problem Saturday, or?
Oh, no. I was trying to head off any potential problems in the future,
You know,
just
I keep
so.
an eye on it, the supervisor's on call, keep an eye on it, and when it starts to accumulate on the street, then we start to salt. We try to run through with salt. Not every snowstorm's the same, it depends on the temperature, the amount of snow expected, how much salt we have in supply. So Saturday, it finally started to accumulate on the street, so we started to salt. Within 20 minutes, it was starting to pile up on the street. So we abandoned the salting, we went right to plowing.
What is that going to mean to our watershed, you know, kind of thing? Meaning, is there any thought yet to how we plow compared to the piles and how it melts? Because
Well,
where I'm
that's why we
at,
try to go curb to curb, that's what we call curb to curb. And every now and then, a plow will jump the curb and do some damage to the grass, we repair it in the spring.
okay,
So why do you gotta get so close to the curb? So we can clean the gutters so the water can make it to the sewer if it melts.
okay.
These are all things, that's why we do it.
Look, it matters to us, so thank you, I
No, no, no,
appreciate
I'm not
it,
saying
you
It doesn't
know.
matter, it's just, yeah, every snowstorm's a little different, you know?
Okay. Thanks.
Are there any other comments from the public? If not, I will close the floor to public comment. And now, trustees, I'd be looking for approval of the consent agenda. On the consent agenda this evening are the minutes from October 21st committee meeting, October 28th board meeting, the bill list, the approval of the September treasurer's report, and the approval of the department reports from building, fire, police, and public works.
I would like to ask that item number 2 be removed. There was one item that a request that I had made to those minutes, adding under trustee Moskow's business, the agreement with the sergeant for the staff and command pool, the reimbursement agreement, and that didn't seem to make it into the corrections.
She did not have time,
Okay,
so she will
Okay, so
correct it for
we-
next time.
so we could remove item number 2.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I'd be looking for a motion to approve everything except number 2 then on the consent agenda.
I'll make the motion.
I'll say,
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Gillis.
Aye.
Trustee LaRue.
aye.
Trustee Ivan.
Aye.
Trustee Phillips.
Aye.
Trustee Kreis.
Aye.
Trustee Moskowitz.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Move on to trustee business. Trustee Price.
Couple quick updates. On Monday, I received an email from Willie Winters from the Cook County Sheriff's Office. They have the capacity to do another demolition, so they are going to do the demolition of 14715 Keystone. The asbestos remediation was scheduled to be completed last Friday. I'm waiting for the report so I can send it to Mr. Winters. And I had told Mr. Winters, we have to somehow amend our IGA on that property because the village owns the property and we do not want a lien filed on the property. That the village intends to make it into municipal parking. We will own it in perpetuity. They would never collect on the lien. As luck would have it, their assistant general counsel, Elizabeth Scannell, called me yesterday. She agreed that that will not be a problem, and they are going to draft a memorandum of understanding for the village to execute, so that the sheriff will not ever file a lien on that property. So stay tuned. We'll have another demolition completed at no cost to the village. And any of the costs for the dumpsters will be reimbursed, hopefully through the Illinois Housing Development Authority grant. I think that's positive news. A couple quick updates. I reached out to Joe Kratzer at the Med Pump Water Reclamation District. As everyone knows, we're working with him on acquiring properties for the project. Provided him with some additional information. I did copy Superintendent Sperry on the email. And he responded to me, thanking me for our efforts, but also I had asked him when they expected the $9 million project to go to their board, and he said they were hopeful that it would be December 17th. However, scoping is still going on, and they are squaring away some critical permit-related tasks, so it might be pushed to January. But I just want to keep the lines of communication open with them, and it's easier for me to reach out to Joe and Cedric to find out the status of the project rather than going through their board agenda. I want to thank Center for Neighborhood Technology, who invited our Rain Ready team last Thursday evening to a Rain Ready party at their offices, and it was a great time. And there are 3 individuals here who attended. With myself, there were 7 of us in total, and we were able to speak with residents from Wilmette, Minetta, and Elmhurst, and share stories. We were asked to speak, and I received a thank you from Harriet Festing telling us we are such an inspiration. They're the inspiration. So again, I think we all had a good time, and it was good sharing stories, and we're not alone, but it seems like we are much farther ahead than those other communities.
And
they
very well
said-
organized as compared to those other communities as well.
because of Helen. So they were very complimentary about Midlothian, and thank you all who went down and took your time to share your stories. And also I received an email from Molly Ocean, and Joe was copied on that as well. They have the capacity to do 5 more rain-ready home assessments, so that's a positive for our residents in the village. And I believe that is all I have this evening.
Thank you. Trustee Osmond?
I want to start out with congratulating Joe and the Public Works team for the handling of our first major snowfall that I was pretty surprised to see how much snow we had. They did a darn good job. And that's all I have.
Thank you.
Let's hope it's the last snow of the season.
Yeah, I'm with that. Trustee Gillis?
Yes, just to keep the board abreast of some of the applications that have come through, potential businesses that are pending, whether they started rough inspections or final inspections need to be completed. We have a restaurant on 146 in Pulaski that just recently opened a couple weeks ago, and I know I'm not going to pronounce it right. Caliente. Actually ate there the other day. Pretty nice. I wanted to bring up a suggestion of possibly, as these new businesses open up, if we maybe can have a spot on the website and showcase them. I actually talked to the owner, took some pictures, so if the board is okay with that, I think it's a nice gesture that we could do. We have golden shrimp, which is the old brown chicken that's in the works. They have some inspections that still need to be completed, but work is moving along according to the file. We have a couple places that are pending applications. Lacey's a neighborhood cafe, I think we're aware of. Kentucky Fried Chicken has a new owner, we're aware of that. There's a final inspection need to be done, but it didn't prevent them from staying open. We have Big Boy Barbecue that has applied, but I don't think nothing has been done. It's just a potential at 4712 147th. Fast Lane is a detailed car shop that we're aware of that needs some inspections still completed. There was an application for inspection from Goose Barn Cafe, 4459 147th. And we have the daycare center that is moving along with the help of our architect firm that gave some recommendations. Dollar General on 144th and Cicero is getting a new sign, so you can be aware of that. And we do have Merlin's that's closed, and I was talking to Mrs. Walton today, and apparently all of Merlin's corporate offices have closed. Only the franchise remain open. We do have a new potential business that wants to go in there, and I know, Mike, you had made a suggestion regarding the zoning issue there.
Yeah, I talked with Bill earlier. We have to get him a variance in order to go in there because it's zoned as a B2.
It needs to be B3.
Well, he can have a variance within B2 for that type of business.
So that's going to be working. Hopefully we have somebody in there. I think he wants to open by January 1st.
I don't think we have. Because the zoning board is meeting on something else on the 14th of December, and by the time it comes through, it's probably going to be January.
There's no way you can piggyback both of them on that day?
The publication's already done, the only time we have to pay for it.
Okay. And I just have some suggestions regarding the speed humps. I don't know, Dan, I'll wait till you talk about it, but, well, one of the things that I was looking at in our 2011 Active Transportation Plan, it has some executive summary policies that was recommended, and I'm just going to read it because it basically points to that. One of the things was increase the use of active transportation methods requiring adoption and implementation of municipal and school policies that facilitate safe use of facilities. The plan also includes the following recommendation policies. Improve crosswalk safety, that was something that came up. Establish a traffic calming policy that creates a mechanism for public involvement regarding traffic calming measures, which would be speed humps, speed bumps. And then it also pointed out continued collaboration with District 143 for more safety roads and then implementation. And it was a midterm suggestion, which is basically 3 to 5 years to implement it, so we're basically on that route. So my suggestion was to basically, instead of making a decision whether to keep them or not keep them, I think we may be better off looking to implement a municipal policy with recommendations to put a traffic calming plan into works. I've actually had the opportunity to do some research, and there are certain guidelines that the Illinois Department of Transportation suggests, doesn't require, but they set a minimum of 25 or 30 miles an hour less, a street that isn't impeded where it would hamper public safety, police or fire, public works. But there are also some other recommendations that I don't think the street basically qualifies if we do that. One of the things that they suggest is that you do have a study. A lot of communities use public works to complete the study. Some use the police officers to do it. Some use your community service officers to do it. And basically, it requires what they call the 85%. If there is 25%, they use that as variance, where there are speeding done on that, that would be a reason for it. But there also has to be, or it also recommends anywhere from 300 to 350 cars per day go down that street, which I don't believe that would qualify. It is just a recommendation. It's not to say that we have to use it. But I think that's an avenue I would like to see us take instead of making a decision, because there are stipulations if communities put them in and they want to be taken out. If there are 75% of the people that wish to have it removed, well, whoever is on that petition to have it removed, those are the ones who are paying to have it removed. So that's 100% of these communities do that. They don't put the burden back on the village once the speed humps or bumps are put in. And it would be a speed hump, not a speed bump. And there is a difference. So, but I think that this is the route we should take, maybe look to implement this policy and look at possibly look into going the route of using school walk route plans too. I don't know that we have that established. I think that would be a start to build a school walking route plan for all the schools. And on the active transportation plan, it specifies that particular intersection as one that we look to get some type of crossing. And I know it's a state road. I believe that's state, right, in the county?
146 and
146 in Pulaski County. So I don't know what guidelines we would have, but, you know, I think maybe if we investigate and see who else on Pulaski may have crosswalks that we could, you know, duplicate. So I would like to see us maybe look into some concrete plans instead of just making, you know, a decision, because this obviously is an important factor by these residents. So I think we should cover what we actually started and put a plan together. So that's just my suggestion.
So this would be consistent criteria all over the village. Is what you're suggesting, not just street by street, but just this is something that would be
Right.
village-wide.
Yes.
In the school walk program. So who has this active transportation?
These recommendations, and I'm glad you reread that, but it's in our active transportation plan that the board adopted.
Yes, in
The
2011.
school walk plan is?
Yes. No, the school walk plan was one I suggested based on other communities. doing
Okay,
it.
the school walk plan's a great idea, but the rest of it is, what you were talking about was Illinois Department of Transportation, or was our active transportation?
The active transportation plan made the policies back in 2011 with these recommendations that covers the school traffic, the school crossing, and the traffic plan. So I would just like to see us implement these plans instead of just, you know, doing what we're doing.
You lead me in the direction where I need to
Sure.
do some homework? Thank you.
I've actually done it, I just haven't had time to share it.
You just did, thank you.
And that's all I got.
Okay. Trustee LaRue.
Yes, ma'am. I heard back from Attorney Gleason about the paramedic right of release waiver today. I'll forward it to all of you. We'll be on the agenda for next week's committee meeting for discussion. And wanted to keep everyone's mind on the toy drive we're having this year. Drop-off points are Village Hall, Two Sisters Frozen Custard, Canute's Pizza, Midlothian Public Library, and Midlothian Parties. That's all I have.
Great, thank you. So,
Are you collecting toys for kids in certain age groups, or
12 and under.
do you know if you have a certain number of boys and girls and a certain number of kids you're collecting for?
I do not have that broken down.
Okay.
Isn't it 150 families though?
150 kids.
Kids.
Oh, 150 kids, okay.
okay. Trustee Gilliland.
I don't have anything except the approval of the risk insurance renewal for 2016.
You making the motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve that.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Killily.
Aye.
Trustee Maskell.
Aye.
Trustee Gillis.
Aye.
Trustee Ivan.
Aye.
Trustee Kreis.
Aye.
Trustee LaRue.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. That's it?
That's all, folks.
Trustee Maskell.
Yes, just one item for the board. I have asked Chief Putnam to attend our committee meeting next week to discuss the issue with crossing guard and 46. Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, great, thank you. Department heads, Chief Hotwagner? Okay, he's gone. Jeff, close up?
One thing, continuing work on the community assistance visit response. I think I probably have about 90% of the information I need. And a couple more of the 16 have kind of cleared themselves up. And thanks to Alan and Nicole for that information on the old Hill subdivision. I think a couple of those cleared up as well. So my goal is to have kind of a draft report for you guys to review by the end of next week. And we'll get that off to DNR. So definitely not looking at it as dark and gloomy as it did before. As far as the items presented to us, but obviously there's department-wide, there's improvements that are needed. So that was all.
Thank you. Superintendent Sperry.
Just one thing, the 2015 MFT road resurfacing program is mostly complete. Just got to go back and do a little inspecting, but everything looks pretty good. I was driving around today. All the roads are pretty much up to par what we wanted. That's all.
Great, thank you.
Could I ask a question, please? We are officially done with leaf pickup, is that true?
No, actually, we're going to send the street sweeper out hopefully next week if it's warm enough. The gutters aren't frozen. We got it pretty good, but there's still some stuff.
As far as our,
Yard waste stops December 1st from the garbage.
okay. Thank you.
Treasurer Britton.
Nothing.
Thank you. Moving on to my business. First item I have is I would like to get approval to change the amount of the liquor licenses. Well, I just wanted to know if these amounts would be okay, and then I'll have the attorney write up the ordinance to reflect these new numbers. But to raise the liquor licenses, Class A's to 20 available and Class E's to 10 available.
How many does that raise?
The A's would go from 15 to 20, and the E's would go from 4 to 10. I don't know why there wouldn't have been 5 to begin with. It was 4.
What's the difference between the A's and the E's?
A is full liquor availability, E is only beer and wine to serve. Oh, and A also has package that you can carry out.
And beer and wine is served, it's not packaged?
No, correct. Is that okay?
Everything.
Okay, so
Sounds good.
I'll have him write it for next week then. I'd be looking for a motion to approve the annual raises for the police and fire chief of 2% to their current salaries.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Roll call?
Trustee Killily.
Aye.
Trustee Maskell.
Aye.
Trustee Gillis.
Aye.
Trustee Ivan.
Aye.
Trustee Kreis.
Aye.
Trustee LaRue.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay. I'd be looking for a motion to approve the tentative levy for 2015, 16. After our Finance Committee meeting of the whole on last Friday, Treasurer Britton addressed some of the concerns and the issues. I provided you with her final draft. I believe that this covers everything we need to cover for this upcoming tax season, and it does not exceed the 1.6 CPI as our ordinance instructs us to do. So I'd be looking to approve the tentative levy so we can get it posted, so we can approve it in December in a timely fashion.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Roll call?
Trustee Kreis.
Aye.
Trustee LaRue.
Aye.
Trustee Gillis.
Aye.
Trustee Ivan.
Aye.
Trustee Killily.
Aye.
Trustee Maskell.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay. Move on to clerk's business.
A couple of things. I received today one additional HR response got at my office. It's from HUB, from a place downtown. So if you want to take a look at it, I have it in my office. Secondly, I have a letter from Bremen High School regarding the Canned Good Drive to be conducted by Bremen High School students to take effect from December 1st through December 12th, 2015. Collections would occur after school from 2 to 5 p.m., Monday through Friday. They will use a village map to avoid repeat collections. Looking for the village for approval of the activity that's been granted in the past. Secondly, I have a request from Luminaria regards to their Luminaria plans. The 2 sale dates to sell Luminaria candle kits in St. Chris parking lot is December 13th, 14th weekend, and the weekend of December 20th and 21st. And then also to use our allocated advertising space in the bus shelters to advertise the Luminaria, and also permission to place the 4 signs in the same locations as they have in the past.
Where they are right now.
That's probably where they are right now. Also, I guess in the past, there was a generous supporter who purchased Christmas trees that they want to put into the village green on Christmas Eve and have them lit up. And looking for permission to do that. Also one other thing, and that is the permits from both IDOT and from Cook County for the parade have been received. I have them on hand. That's all I have.
Okay, great. With no further business to come before the board this evening, at 7:44, I'd be looking for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.